Debra L. Morrison is a TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and international motivational speaker. She's a recipient of the Marquis's Who's Who Women of Influence Award. A seasoned, life-centered certified financial planner and empowered retirement coach, she partners with people to maximize their return on life, not just their investments. Debra has been featured on CNN, ABC, and MSG's Metro Money Television. She's also been quoted in the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, the New York Times, Business Week, Money Magazine, Ladies' Home Journal, Nations, Business, CNN, Money, Reader's Digest, Kiplinger's, and more. Debra She teaches that it's possible to live in the moment and also save for the future. Known for her easy-to-understand speaking style, Debra combines sage wisdom with refreshing humor.
Hello, Debra. Welcome.
Thank you so much, LaWanna. It's great to be with you.
Thank you. Thank you. I know your schedule's been busy, and I just thought this is the perfect time to catch you to talk about a very important topic, which is women empowerment and wealth creation. And you and I talked a little bit about the title of the show, and you wanted to use the word creating intentional wealth. So before we get deep into our discussion, why did you use the word intentional wealth? Because some people think that you either inherit wealth, you win the lottery, you just happen to step into good fortune. But we use the word intentional, that sounds like it's by design, right?
Completely by design, because when we think back what we've achieved in life, it's chiefly those things, events, situations that we put some planning, some intention, some thought, some pretense, some investment in the outcome. I mean, we can take something as simple as going to the grocery store with a list, because you know what you're going to prepare for the next week or 2 days or whatever. And so that intentionality, just in something as small as a shopping list, could end up saving you $20 of just being able to, like, impulse buy, pull stuff off the shelf. And so I want us to be intentional about our wealth, because you see, wealth is a composite, an umbrella term. Health, physicality, mentality, spirituality, financial for sure. All we know, some entrepreneurs, especially, or people that are employed, doesn't matter, spend the first half of their life ruining their health to get this. Yeah, these are real greenbacks. And then the second half of their life spend a lot of this to attempt to get back the parts of their health that they had otherwise sacrificed. And sometimes it's more successful than others. You see, so why do that? Why cause ourselves extra angst and pain and anxiety and money, when if we simply are intentional about it from the start, then we can know that we're on a trajectory. So I'm not, signing up anyone for like a 19-point financial plan tonight before midnight. I'm simply saying, if we are intentional to maintain the full complement of our wealth, then more likely than not, we're going to attend to it, and we're going to be happy with the return on our investment, right? And so that's what we all want. Everybody's like, what's the ROI on that? Shark Tank, what's the ROI? Well, here's the ROI. As we get decades older, we can still run around and play with our kids or grandkids or nieces and nephews, go up and down a set of stairs, etc. So that's our health. And you say, well, Debra, come on. It's just, you have 42 years in investment. Let's get off this health thing. I'll tell you what. Often people are propelled into intentionality and action when a precipitous event happens. Premature death, disability, a death to someone whom you love in your family. And it shocks us into, oh my, what to do. And I wrote a book called My Husband Died, Now What? A Widow's Guide to Grief Recovery and Smart Financial Decisions. I use my grief coach skills in half of it to help people with grief recovery. And then I use my 42 years of financial planning and asset management experience to give financial tips and point out tripwires. And in that, I said, when people have lost a partner, I want, instead of them saying, "What next?" because that's a phrase that's often uttered in grief, abject grief. I want us to say, "What's next?" Because there's always going to be a next, else you would be dead too. So let's figure out what our next chapter is while we have the full complement of our minds, perhaps a partner if we're fortunate. And then we'll be, I think, very pleasantly surprised, LaWanna, with the little wins that we can notch. And that's going to up-level our confidence, will it not? And that win will beget another win and another win. And now we're on our way to actually being the architect of our own financial, especially, but our own wealth, our futures.
I love how you worded that, the architect of our futures. And there's so much that we can control. However, in this environment, many people are scurrying about with fear. There's a lot of uncertainty. What is the economy going to do? Interest rate is rising. You know, my 401k isn't holding like I thought it was going to be. The job market is uncertain. Entrepreneurs are, just wondering which way is up, basically. Yeah. And I want you to speak directly to that woman, entrepreneur, solopreneur, who is really struggling right now because we've come out of this crazy pandemic time, and women have been disproportionately impacted by that.
Yeah, they have been.
Then we're sandwiched, right? So we were making strides. You have the pandemic. We take a few steps back because of the pandemic. We're sandwiched, taking care of children, taking care of mom and dad, and we have just a little bit of money to work with while we're still trying to earn money and protect our future reserves.
It's a problem. And the best way, I believe, to engage with problems outside of our control, the systemic, if you will, injustice of gender pay disparity, the racism involved in how white women are paid versus brown and black women versus Indian women versus Asian women, et cetera. It goes well down beyond women, which typically then the presumption is white women earned X percentage of what an equivalently trained white male will earn. And so we want to be completely cognizant that there are systems that are actually operating against some of us, and some more than others. And I think it's important to understand that, because it kind of gives us the tip off, hey, we're going to have to spend some extra energy in this area. Yeah. And so what's that extra energy? The extra energy is doing all we can within our control to bring ourselves into that competition in a more favorable light. I have just been enlightened, I've been reading a lot, and enlightened to the disparity in wage for overweight women, not overweight men. Overweight women are being paid far less and promoted far less often. And so if we get our bodies in better shape, one, our knees and ankles and hips and everything else will feel better, most likely, and hopefully we'll be happier because of that. And yet we will also not have yet another hurdle to overcome. Now, let's get into what we can control, because you hit the nail on the head. And I come from I was raised on a beef cattle farm. And so I'm all about raw and real. And so like I get the hammer out, you hit the nail on the head. And that is, we want to control what we can control. And that's a lot, women. It's a lot. Because some of us entrepreneurs are a little bit kind of control freaks, right? Control freaks. I am a complete control freak, right? And yet, why would we be in other areas of our life kind of control freaks and then have this like proverbial nose ring, and we're just being led around for whatever is going to come down the pike next? And then we have to react instead of create. So what we women and women entrepreneurs especially can do is be creators. You see, if you write the letters out, CREATOR, and then you write out the letters REACTOR, reactor, they're the same letters. The order is different. And I can tell you, if you're in the reactionary mode, you're into a defeatist. The recession. What are we going to recess? Are we going to whatever? And then if we simply shift and take control for the facets of our plan and life that we can shape and model, we're going to sit up a little taller, we're going to hold our head higher, and we're going to follow the plan until it doesn't work. And then we do some pivoting. And yet we are not at a loss of our next steps. So one, we got to have liquidity. You've got to have liquidity in order to sustain some type of credit tightening. And we've certainly seen that. Obviously,
let me just add one thing that you just said. I want to just echo this so that the audience can hear. Is you mentioned you have to have a plan. And you talked about our health. You and I are blessed to have parents who have lived a long, long time.
Indeed.
And I often tell women when I'm talking about planning for your future is think about how long you may live.
Absolutely.
Right? So if they're blessed, if we are blessed to live as long as our parents, then you have to make sure that you don't outlive your resources, right? So that's part of the planning, yes?
Absolutely. And you've hit on something very key as well, in so much as women traditionally, the statistics seem to show that women do not invest in stocks or stock mutual funds, stocks exchange traded funds, as much as our male counterparts. And why? Because we've never gotten the education, especially what I call mature women. 60-plus-year-old women have had this horrible socialization around money. Don't worry your little head over that, Betty. Bob will handle it. Great if Bob doesn't die prematurely, or as I say, come home one day and trade you in for 230s. So the issue is we have to be sufficient and we have to be skilled. And I am about purveying the truth. I have a whole course called The Truths About Money, and I pull no punches. It is raw, it is real, and it does get women into a mode of, oh my gosh, I need to know that. And so when we women understand that there are going to be gaps in our financial knowledge, I do not espouse what a lot of white male financial pundits say on TV, especially in April this year. Oh, all mature women need is just to go and get financially literate. Yeah, well, we do not need a 60-plus-year-old woman to be banished back to the library for 4 more decades of study. No, we do not. We need answers to our questions on a timely basis, and we need to know the source to whom we can go for those answers. And it's not you're not going to get your financial planning questions answered by your life insurance agent. You're not going to get your financial planning questions and your tax minimization questions answered by your broker. They're not skilled with the continuing education credits to give you that information. So in as much as you don't open your spice drawer and get out cinnamon when you're making a vegetable souffle, even though cinnamon is a good ingredient, but it doesn't work here, right? So let's look in the right cabinet for the right advisor in order that when we have a question, we can go to the right place. So if we're buying a product, yeah, we're going to the insurance agent to find out the plethora of options available and the features and the benefits versus the cost. Yet to load up on financial products, and a lot of us have been sold them because commissionable agents tend to eat when they sell more commissionable products. And so we often end up with this bevy of financial products. I got a life insurance policy here, I got an annuity policy here, and both of those types of insurances carry the highest commission. So a lot of us have those policies, and we don't know if they're the right ones to meet and fund the goals that we have. And so we need to know the true answers, and the way you're going to get that is a fiduciary financial advisor. Now, with that said, I need to say this. I opened my mail 2 days ago, and I get an invite for a lunch, a free lunch at a pretty good restaurant here. And of course, it's from this attorney. And he says, he has a big sticker here on the side, certified fiduciary financial. And I'm like, I doubt this. These lunches are always sponsored by insurance agents. So it says, investment advisory services offered through the guy's name, a multi-state registered investment advisor. Followed quickly by insurance products offered through his other corporation, a multi-state licensed insurance producer. Now, believe me, I do not have anything against insurance agents. I sold insurance for 19 years. There was no other way to earn a living. I mean, and then when fee only became available, I went to that, and I have been a financial advisor versed in all areas of financial planning since then. Risk management, cash flow and budgeting, estate planning, tax minimization, all these kinds of things. But when a person bastardizes the public's trust in saying, I'm this, when in point of fact, they're really something else, then the public, i.e., what takes my heart is women are not getting the right advice, and instead they're getting a policy or a variable annuity jammed down their throat. And this will not hasten our making our goals and winning in retirement. It will set us back. And I want to stop that. Stop it.
And I love that you're creating this awareness, because often we don't know what we don't know. Yeah. This has been an industry that's been dominated by men. Yeah. And unfortunately, and I think I may have shared a story with you. I went to an investment luncheon, yeah. And everyone in the room except two of us were men.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around thinking, what's wrong with this picture? Why aren't more women showing up at the table? This wasn't insurance only. They had other services there, but it was very disturbing. That you had over 100 people there and only 2 were women.
And I'm thinking you might have been the only Black person?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So I love what you're doing, and that since you've retired, and I don't even like to use the word retire, you just shifted what you're doing, because you're still showing up and serving. Absolutely. Just in a different way.
Absolutely. Yes.
So now you're like on this mission, this crusade,
yeah,
to have women become more aware, more empowered, mm-hmm. so that they can intentionally create wealth. What was it? What was that catalyst that caused you to say, you know what, I have to champion this?
Well, I went into finance. Literally, I worked for the corporate world a half a day after college, half a day. And I said, I think I might've said this, like, I went to the woman I just, observed. And this woman, probably I'm thinking I'd work like her. She's like really diligent. And I go up to her and I say, Ann, how long have you been here? 28 years. How many raises have you gotten? 3. So I applied to be an underwriter. You imagine, with my personality, underwriting, I would have been bored out of my mind. So thanks be to God, I didn't get that. But I was told I didn't get that position because I didn't have the right degree. Well, I had a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. And that day I was on the job. First day I was on the job as a claims examiner. the company newsletter comes out and says, Jeffrey Schmillicully, a BS and BA, my degree, was hired as an underwriter. And I had a choice right then. Half day on a job. Sue this company for discrimination, or shake the dust from your feet and go on. I shook the dust from my feet. I went on and began selling life insurance, wanted to sell investments. And they said, oh, no, we're not going to put money into a young little snot like you, in 1978. And so they said, why don't you go shuffle along, little one, and sell life insurance. And of course, after I had them explain the product to me, I was like, oh my gosh, this keeps families together, keeps businesses together in the event of premature deaths. And so I led the agency for the next 2 years as a 21-year-old girl. And then I said, all right, boys, I want to learn investments. And so I learned investments, and I knew about stocks because my grandfather was a stock market investor. And so I knew there was a lot of power in stocks, right? And a lot of return. You see, this is the part of the memo that women haven't gotten. They've just gotten from the TV and everything else, the pundits, neck veins popping, the market is crashing, and the clear inference is, don't just sit there, stupid, do something. And then women go, whoop, sell, I got to get out of here. It's hot in the kitchen. And that's exactly the wrong thing. So what women haven't gotten is the history, the raw facts, if you will, of what the stock market has done over the past 80 plus years versus the bond market versus treasury bills and CDs. And just to cut to the chase, over 80 years of history shows the stock market returning on average 8%. 8 to 10%, depends. And bonds returning between 3 and 4%. Now, even with the new math and the best bond and the worst stock, there's still a very, very big delta. And so what we want to understand as women is what is going to be the right mix of ingredients for this recipe. We get it when we're making a recipe. If we're throwing together a whole bunch of quality ingredients to make a chocolate cake and the recipe says 350-degree oven for 50 minutes, there are very few of us that are going to use all those good ingredients and our time, put it in the oven, and then after 10 minutes, get real curious, like, open that door and jerk it out. Well, we could, and we won't have a chocolate cake, right? So the point of thinking about stocks for the short term is what gets a lot of women and has gotten a lot of women in trouble in so much as this news that they haven't had a context for, LaWanna. They haven't had the context that the markets cycle. They go up and down. Now, women should get cycles, right? We should, right? And the markets cycle. And so if you can hang tight while they're going down and keep investing, you're buying at a discount, just like we do when our favorite retailer throws a sale. So I want to change our mindset to being unit or share accumulators. Instead of, I looked at my statement and I'm down $50 or $50,000. Yeah, well, like they say in Florida, wait a minute, the weather will change, right? So wait a cycle and you'll be back.
I think what you just said is so huge. Again, it comes from being aware, having the education, and understanding that it's what we're looking at when we get that statement. It's a snapshot. It's a point in time, but if we look historically at how our investments have performed,
absolutely,
then make the decision accordingly.
Right. And that's why, especially as entrepreneurs, when we're in charge of your own business and you're financing to fund your new service or your new product or whatever, you need to have that liquidity so that, God forbid, we have a recession or a downturn, or you lose a big contract, or you or your partner loses their position if your partner, then you're not forced to say, where can I get money quickly, right? You want to have those lines of credit build up and available. So you will want to take those offers that you're often mailed, 0% balance transfer. If you've made and gotten a balance in your credit card, transfer it over to a 0% for a certain amount of time, and not just sit on your hands then until that expiry, to go ahead and put that money in another account, a short-term high yield savings account. And then in the 18 months or whenever that comes due, boom, do the shift, transfer, pay it off. Right? So we want to have liquidity so that we're not looking in the wrong places for money because you can't look and you can't go and take a room off of your house and cash it in for, groceries. You can't do those liquid kinds of transactions with long-term investments. So you want to have some stocks, some bonds, some different rated bonds, some different sizes of stocks. And I always like to have people invest $250,000 in mutual funds or exchange traded funds before they go out and buy one single stock.
So let's talk about that. Why is that approach to you so vital?
Well, see, people thought Enron was really good until it wasn't.
Right.
Like a bazillion pension plans. Let's get serious. Enron was everywhere. And so there's such a risk if we buy one or two stocks. And as novice investors or small investors, anything under $5 million, small investor, we can't afford those risks when there's an opportunity to buy, for example, the Standard & Poor's 500, which is a basket of 500 different stocks. If one happens to go belly up, okay, all right, whatever. You got 499 still there at the job, showing up, performing. Some of which are giving pretty darn good dividends, I might say. See, so women tend to think sometimes stocks, oh, that's growth, and oh my gosh, if it doesn't do great, then I'm going to lose everything. Well, maybe while it's plateauing or cycling, it's paying out a 4% dividend. Check it out. Check out the dividends paid on the Standard & Poor's 500. You'll be impressed.
That's a good piece of advice. Now, I want to ask this question, and then I want to go a little bit into your story. When individuals work with you, because you're not in the certified financial planning lane any longer,
right?
What role do you take? Are you more the advisor, the guide, the mentor? What are you doing with women today?
Well, thanks for asking. And it is a difference for 42 years. I practiced financial planning and asset management. So I took a client in, teased out all their goals and objectives, figured out what products they had, figured out what needed to be replaced, what could be retained, bada bing, bada bang. Covered the gaps, filled the gaps, and then took over management of their money. All they had to do is live an untethered life. They call me and say, Debra, we want to redo our bathroom, find $25,000 for us. I would go along the accounts and see where's the cheapest tax dollars, what investment of all of your investments. Like I make the analogy, fingers on your financial hand, right? Some of your investments will be up almost all the time, and then some of them will be down in a different time period. You don't want everything to be up because one time everything is going to be down. So you want to have this diversification happening. And so I would, as the advisor, go and see, hey, where's the best place to take it? And if a person needs $25,000, I'd run my mouse across and see, if I sell this, I'm going to have a capital gain. Better manage that. I don't want to skew my asset allocation by continuing to sell out this tech stock, for example. Then I'm going to have to go buy more tech stock. And so I would make those decisions, and it was absolutely a lot of fun, and give people those monies that they needed as they needed them. And more importantly, I think to most retirees, my master's degree is in retirement planning, give people this monthly income to supplement Social Security, pension, whatever. Now, what I'm doing now is all that still heavy lifting, all that stuff that happens at the beginning, getting all of the chaos converted to order. And teasing out, spending a lot more time than I had the time in the initial stages of onboarding a financial planning client. You just don't have the time to spend that I have the time now as a coach to say, hey, LaWanna, what are your goals and objectives? Now, I had high net worth clients, and some of them just looked at me like a deer in the headlights. They didn't know what their goals were. And so I take the opposite approach. Okay, well, then sometimes it helps me to figure out my goal if I know what I don't want. Yeah, okay, there. Okay. So you don't want to have a lower standard of living when you're hanging up your sneakers, do you? Oh, no. Okay, great. There we go. First thing, we want to have at least our standard of living in our later years. And then we go from there. And it's just an amazing process. I love it to see the pump being primed and say, what have you been saying to yourself or to your partner, if you're partnered? Someday I'll. someday someday we'll, and let's put that down on paper. Both of you do mind dumps separately. I always love this exercise if there's two people. And then you bring them together and now you prioritize. And if you're single, you will put this down on a mind dump over several days, weeks, months, and it continues to happen. And then you will prioritize. And that list of prioritization, that process of prioritization is the intentionality. You're getting it, right? You're picking up what I'm putting down in terms of the intentionality being really driven by our priorities. And then we can go about the education of women as to the various returns, historic returns of asset classes. Now, I have no idea what returns are going to be of any asset class going forward. Run really fast away from anybody that says they do. However, it was Mark Twain that said, history may not repeat itself, but it will surely rhyme. So we want to be completely aware of the choices that we have. And women start to blossom when they feel like they're not like trapped with an either or. There's always more than two ideas and two options, always. And so that's what I do with clients.
Let's do a quick breakaway and we'll come back and talk a little bit about one of your lessons learned along the way.
Sure enough.
Business and Financial Raw Talk, a no-holds-barred forum for leaders and innovators with award-winning business strategist and financial analyst LaWanna Bradford with the Bradford Group. With Raw Talk, we are empowering women to rise and succeed in business and finances and improve the world for the next generation. Get ready to get raw and real. Live each Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern on e360tv.com.
Well, Debra, it's very easy for us to speak from a place of knowledge, lived experience. And I'm certain the audience is saying, okay, Debra, you got it all together. You have no idea where I am. You don't realize the mistakes I've made. You're living this life of Riley. You just don't understand. Share one of your big oopsies.
Well, I certainly have made mistakes. And as investors, we all have made mistakes. Chief among them, Warren Buffett. I mean, I think it's $6 billion mistakes he's made. And he readily admits it. So first of all, I say to mature women, who are you to think that you're going to go into this field of and participate in this field of finances, if you will, and not make a misstep? You will. The question is not how many times you fall down. What is the Japanese saying? Fall down 7 times, get up 8. So here I was, a financial advisor, steeped in my practice, registered investment advisor. And I would have investment deals come across my desk all the time. And most of them just toss them away. And then there was this one that really caught my attention. It was about corporate recycling. Excuse me. And their pitch was trash into cash. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is so green. And this is way before. This is, I don't know, 2011, 8, a long time ago. And I thought, that's a really good thing. It coordinates and it's congruent with my values. I was very interested in the environment and saving planet Earth, et cetera, et cetera. And so I went to a bunch of due diligence meetings, double ballrooms. Almost everybody was a CPA but me. And and got information on this, and then decided, well, I'll put some of my IRA money in here. And so I began putting in monies into their offerings, and they would close an offering and then they would open up another offering. And they had a plant basically where they were doing this kind of thing and coordinating with the University of Hawaii with this kind of regenerative degree certification, if you will. So all of the ducks seemingly were in a row. And it felt really good. And the returns were really good for 4 years. And then one Monday, when we were on a call, the general partner said, now this is just my own money, no client money, said the SEC is asking me to meet them in Denver. I don't think I'm going. Now, I'm in the business. I'm regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. I'm like, oh, Troy, you are going to answer the SEC questions. And I fell into my chair and said, God, tell me this isn't so. But it was a Ponzi scheme. And over 4 years, I'd invested in, I think, 6 of their offerings, $250,000. Now, if anybody understands about when you make an investment and it doesn't turn out so well, in non-retirement monies, you can write it off, and at least Uncle Sam shares in your loss to the tune of your tax bracket. So if you made a $100,000 investment in ABC stock and you lost your money, or you lost a good deal of it, you write off $100,000 if you're in a 30% tax bracket. Uncle basically takes $30,000 of that loss, and you only have a $70,000 loss. Not so in an IRA. You're on your own. Litigation lasted probably 6 years. I was horrified that my clients would see my name as an investor and somehow lose respect for me. I lost respect for me. I was flattened. Suicidal for 2 days. I had gotten 3 times the continuing ed credit every year than what was required. I lived and breathed my career. And then it dawned on me. You see, I put it into context. Nobody died. It was money, and I could make more of it. And moreover, I had 34 clients had no idea this was happening to me, and they were still looking for my management and advice and suggestions with their life savings. And I got back in my office chair and back to work. And I have since recovered and more. So would you rather coach with a person who hasn't felt some of the pain you felt? Or would you rather sit at the elbow of a person who has some scars, most of them healed for sure, and knows how to, one, forewarn you against getting your proverbial car tire in that deep pothole? And yet, if you are or have been in a pothole, understands the steps by which you can extricate yourself. You see, I'm always very interested in the interview with the world-class marquee coach who loses a championship game. I want to know what that championship coach is going to say in the face of a, in those cases, nationwide loss. Mine was just my personal stuff, right? That's the type of coach and the empathy that I'm bringing to the table. And I think that's why I've been effective as a financial coach. I'm a financial and leadership coach, you see, because my whole life I have led based upon principles that were instilled in me in a 100-acre beef cattle farm upbringing. No allergy to hard work, I can assure you, and the ability to pivot when plan A and plan B don't work. And so if you are a novice in this field of finance, and or you have made a financial misstep, and I like to call them missteps, because we can tend to immortalize mistakes. Like people would come into my office when I was practicing and say, I made a horrible mistake. Okay. What did you do? Oh, I did this and this. Okay. You did that and that and that. What else? Oh, that was it. If that's it, we're good. And the women just say, are you serious? And it was like, I'm not a Catholic, but going for absolution or something, this is the stumbling block that continues to handcuff too many women, is that they say to me, yeah, it was November of 2000 and I made this misstep. And my fear is that they've been paralyzed ever since because they skinned their knee once, it hurt, and they will not get back on that bike. And so they didn't just make a misstep November of 2000 or whatever date I spelled out. They've made it again and again and again and again because they've not changed the tape. They've not taken the remote control of their own life and said, change the channel because this one isn't powerful or empowering to me. And that's the license I want to throw out to all of our viewers tonight. And that is, you've got control over your own thoughts and your own actions, most all of them. I want you to take that with the same vengeance that you would otherwise stand up for yourself against bullying or other more overt things. You see, it's that covert stuff that tends to rule us when we don't bring it conscious so that we can deal with it. And I am all about raw talk, radical responsibility. Let's not waste valuable time or our health with one more self-deprecating mantra. Let's take control where we can, and that's a lot. Find a trustworthy source or sources from whom you can gain the answers to your questions now, women, and move forward into your own intentional wealth. We can do it, women. Yes, we can.
I love that. We are almost out of time, and I know you have several trainings that you offer, and I want to give you some time to talk to the audience, to let them know how they can connect with you, the type of training and education that you provide. But I think most importantly, the short and long-term benefits, because this isn't just training just to say, yeah, I took this financial awareness course or master class.
Right.
It's in order to reach a certain result, to ensure that you have sustainability for today and tomorrow, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
I think you are absolutely right in so much as I would love for us to envision this financial arena that we are all in the midst of. You can be aware of it and conscious of it and deal with it, or you can say, oh, I never was good in math and all these kind of silly excuses, right? This is a journey, women, and you will have missteps and you'll get off on the wrong ramp, just like we do sometimes driving. And then invariably there's an on-ramp right back onto the road towards our destination. And the more we imagine that this is a medium to long-term endeavor, and unless you die prematurely, then the better and the more forgiving we will be for any slight little hiccups along the way. And so we want to know the context of whatever we're embarking upon. So LaWanna mentioned earlier, we talk about we might live a long time. And the point is, we want to not have our money retire before we do, right? We don't want our money to run out before we run out. And the way in which we pattern ourselves towards success at that not happening, preventing that from happening, is to imagine that it's not about, oh, I'm 5 years from 65, so I should be 100 less my age, or some silly notion like this, right? No, you need to still have stocks for that long term, because when you're 80, you can't generally go back into the workforce so easily. So we have to cordon off different time periods. And then I invite us to put our goals on those different time periods, and then use a financial advisor, a fiduciary financial advisor, to give you the best tool. If my earlier example of the spices, okay, you want cinnamon in a cookie recipe sometimes, and you want Montreal steak in a beef recipe if you eat beef, etc. It's like common sense. See, women are hardwired with common sense, and yet there's sometimes this silo of money that seems to be outside of our realm of possibility. Like, we can do this, right? Well, we can do it. And that's my penchant, to move that silo, if you will, of money matters into our center, into our fulcrum right here, our focus point, so that we apply the same kind of investigative questions that we do in other areas of our life. But we set our context and we equip ourselves for the job. When's the last time you looked at, like, I love the Olympics. They have those short-term sprinters and everybody's getting their fingers ready and getting down and ready, looking up, ready for the gun to go off because they're going to do a 100-meter dash or something like that. You know, do you see those runners in a hoodie, sweatpants, hiking boots, and, gloves or something? No. So why are we encumbering ourselves with, I can't do it. I've never been good at math. Oh, I made a misstep a long time ago. Oh, someone told me I was stupid. My dad said I'd never amount to anything. My partner said I'm useless. Hey, you know the number of people that answer, you know what the people's answer is when they say, who's your biggest enemy? More than not, I think the statistic is well into the 70% say their self. They are their own worst enemy. Women, we don't have time for that. You can go through your whole life and not eat broccoli or not skydive. You cannot go through your whole life without figuring out how to manage this so that it buys the goods and services that you want. I'm reminded of President Biden saying just the other week when he signed the debt ceiling bill, and he said his dad said to him, Joey, don't tell me what's important to me. Show me your budget and I'll see what's important to you. Where are we on our budget? If we're not listed as number one, then I need to suggest to you to implore an attitude shift and put yourself there on number one, because until you pay yourself first, you're not working on all of the cylinders. So let's pull ourselves together with newfound courage that it's possible and that we can do this thing, not by ourselves. I don't want anybody to feel alone. There are many, many, many groups. I run a number of them. So pop over to my Facebook page, Women Navigating Finances. Join the Facebook group. There's going to be all kind of promotion in there for another class, another class, another class, another meeting, whatever I'm up to, because it's always evolving. Or I've developed a We Can Do It women movement, which I'm really excited about. And my swim lane is finances and leadership. And yet We Can Do It Women is going to be a worldwide safe space, a compendium, if you will, of women of all disciplines. And we're going to come together virtually and in person and support and mentor each other. So we are about lifting up our more than half of the sky and doing so responsibly and putting our money where our values are. And that's going to give us the verve and the leadership chops to go ahead and influence for the better all the lives of the girls that are younger than us and that live in a country perhaps less developed than ours. We have a responsibility, you see, to ourselves first, and then to our families, to make sure that our money is going to last us. So that requires us to be judicious about where we put our various investments. And then we need to give from the saucer after our cup is overflowing, because our planet is in dire need of women funding projects that are healthy for us, our whole families, communities, countries, and Mother Earth, for goodness sake. And so there are investments that do just that. And we get into all that as we progress. So stick with us, pop in. It's all free. You can get information and ask questions whenever you wish. I encourage you to find that courage, dust it off, and bring it to the fore, because our lives are going to be richer when we do.
I love that, Deborah. This has been just an amazing conversation, definitely peppered with call to actions throughout. And I encourage our listening audience, please connect with Deborah, join the Facebook group, go to wecandoitwomen.com. Just surround, if you're tired of being where you are,
Yeah.
or you have this sense of fear of my money may run out, or I may not be prepared. What if I get sick? I'm the only one bringing in income. Then you need to talk to the right people and surround yourself with the right community to ensure your success and your peace of mind.
Yeah.
That's priceless. Peace of mind is priceless.
It is. And on my Women Navigating Finances website, there's a free checklist. And so it takes you through various aspects of financial planning. And you can say, oh, I got that covered. I got that. Oh, I don't have that covered. Right. So it's like a wake up call. I say, if you went to your mammogram appointment and then they found some shadow and said, we need to have you come back for a second screening. There are very few of us are going to say, it's just a little shadow. I'm not going back. Early detection is what we want. And so if we know in our gut that we're not on the best track financially, would you rather keep doing the same thing and imagining it's going to somehow get better? Or would you rather take radical responsibility, own your current situation, and whatever the past has held, we learn from it, and then we face forward with strategies that are winning? We can do it, women. Yes, we can.
Thank you so very much, Deborah, for joining us again on Business and Financial Raw Talk. It's always an amazing treat. If anyone didn't get anything out of this, I know I did. And I'm looking forward to being a part of the We Can Do It Women movement. And I encourage all of you to join us, because collectively we can be the ripple of impact that we want to see around the world, influencing and empowering that next generation and pulling up women, as you said, in other countries that really need our support and encouragement and resources. Absolutely. So that they have the options and choices, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So we will see you again next week for another edition of Business and Financial Raw Talk. And just remember, to all of those that are listening, in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, and you just heard an opportunity here, success is inevitable. Until next week, be safe, everyone. Thank you again, Deborah.
Thank you, LaWanna.